Gold is very close to touching its previous highs in the 1900s, but I don't believe that gold's going to stop at 2000. I think it's actually going to accelerate from there, and we're going to reach all-time highs that most people cannot conceive in their mind right now.
Please join us for our next live stream, Sunday, July 19th at 9 p.m. Eastern. We'll go over current events, past guests, and of course, gold and silver news. Once again, our next live stream will be Sunday, July 19th, 9 p.m. Eastern. See you then. Hello again, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Silver Bullion Television, SBTV. I'm your host, Patrick Vieira. Once again, if you are new to this channel or you have not already done so, please do subscribe, hit the bell to be notified on new updates, and give us a thumbs up if you like what we do. We really do appreciate your support. Our guest today, Collin Kettell, the founder and executive chairman of Palisades Goldcorp, Canada's newest resource-focused merchant bank. Collin comes from a family with deep ties to the mining industry, with many successes, including co-founding AUEX Ventures, a company responsible for discovering the Long Canyon deposit, which was acquired by Newmont Mining for $2.3 billion. Collin is also the founder of Palisades Global Investments, which is a shareholder of Silver Bullion. Collin and his team are also behind the popular YouTube channel, Palisades Radio, which interviews experts from the energy and mining space. And we are delighted to have Collin back as a return guest. It's time to saddle up and silver up for Collin Kettell. Collin, welcome back to SBTV. How are you doing?
Hey, Patrick, I'm doing well. Thanks for having me back on the program to speak to your audience.
We're glad you had time to join us again. A lot of things have been happening since we first had you on, which was quite a while back. This year being 2020, we're just a little bit more than halfway through the year, and how is it turning out? How has it been for you so far, 2020?
Yeah, 2020 has been great. My focus is on precious metals, as is your team, but a little bit more narrowly on financing exploration and development companies. So while precious metals entered a bona fide bull market 18 months ago, these companies that I finance have really just begun to move since the COVID crash. So really since March, the moves though off the bottom have been explosive, and it seems and it feels, and I would say it is the case that we're back in a bull market for what are called the junior resource companies.
Before we go on, I should congratulate you for the filing of the preliminary prospectus for Newfound Goldcorp to go public.
Thank you. Yeah, we're most excited about that. Just for your audience members that don't know, Newfound Gold's a company that my group founded in 2015, and we had a exceptional discovery in a province of Canada called Newfoundland back in November of last year, and had one of the best gold drill intercepts anywhere on the planet for the year. And there's been a tremendous amount of interest, so we're taking that public here in the next couple of weeks.
Collin, you're one guy who wears many hats. You're the founder and co-founder of companies such as Palisades Goldcorp, Newfound Goldcorp, Victory Metals, and Gold Spot Discoveries. You are the host of Palisades Radio for many years as well. If you could describe in one sentence what you do, what would it be?
I'd probably tell you that the one sentence would be impossible. From a very high level, though, I run a company named Palisades Goldcorp. All of my assets are tied into that company, and all of the investments that I make are done through that company. And all the other hats that I wear are on behalf of that main company, Palisades.
Can you tell us the story behind selecting Palisades as the name of your company?
Yeah, for sure. I got to admit, it's not a very riveting story. I was probably 14 or 15 years old, and at the time I was not as focused on precious metals. I was actually in my adolescent youth thinking I was going to be a film producer, and I wanted to come up with a name for my film company, and I liked the name Paramount. So I went to the dictionary and started with P, and within a matter of a few minutes, I saw the word Palisades, and I thought that had a nice ring to it. So I found out later that going back to the dictionary, a palisade is a fortified fence or fortress. So I guess from a precious metals perspective, it works out okay.
What is your view of Gold at this moment where prices have seen 8-year highs, do you expect gold to hit 2000 anytime soon?
I I wouldn't predict exactly when it's going to happen, but using the word soon, I think gives enough of a window to say yes. I believe gold is very close to touching its previous highs in the 1900s and not too far off from reaching all-time highs. And my feeling beyond that is while people have a mental threshold in their mind that because something reached a certain level before, it may not go much above that. We've been basing for gold for the last 10 years. And I don't believe that's just one reason, but I don't believe that gold's going to stop at 2000. I think it's actually going to accelerate from there. And we're going to reach all-time highs that most people cannot conceive in their mind right now. And I think this thing is just getting started in terms of price move.
You wrote an article on the Palisades Gold website titled "How Many Investors Own Gold Stocks?" And the title seems to suggest that more investors ought to be owning gold stocks today and that the opportunity in gold is quite attractive. Can you share with us how big is the opportunity in gold or gold stocks?
Sure. I like to characterize what we have happening right now as a sleeper bull market because the U's and me's of the world, we're very focused on gold, and so we're excited about what's going on, and we see our hard work starting to pay off and things going in the right direction. But it's important to look at the general population and figure out what's the sentiment. Is anybody even paying attention to this? And so I do things like look on television, and sure, the gold price is quoted on CNBC and wherever you are in the world, it's quoted. But how many people are actually paying attention? How many people are euphoric and interested in the gains that are being made? And the answer is not that many. There's a investment platform that's become pretty big in the United States. I'm not sure if it's known of in Singapore, but it's called the Robinhood platform. And as of a couple months ago, they had 10 million accounts. And these accounts are not necessarily large accounts. They're a lot of retail oriented, so maybe smaller investors for the most part. And they actually publicly disclose when you purchase a stock or look at a stock, how many people on the platform own that stock. So I looked, and the number one held stock 2 months ago, which blew my mind, was Aurora Cannabis. And that's despite the fact that Aurora Cannabis has already lost 80% of its value. Other things happening on the platform, people are buying oil ETFs. They're also clamoring to airlines, an industry that I'm not sure I would be ready to invest in yet. I wanted to look at gold and gold stocks, and to my surprise, the GDX, which is the gold miners ETF, the largest one on the planet, and the GDXJ, its smaller brother for mid tiers, they were held by something like 10 to 15,000 accounts. Barrick Gold, which has a very nice ticker symbol, GOLD. So people probably don't know what they're buying, might think they're buying physical gold, but it was only held by something like 30,000 accounts. So, that just goes to show from the herd mentality that nobody's even paying attention to this sector, despite the fact that we're on the verge of hitting all-time highs.
Do you think people even realize that we are about $150 away from gold's all-time high in US dollars?
No, I think most people don't. When they wake up at the beginning of the week, by the end of the week, they haven't even thought about the barbarous relic gold. I don't even think it crosses their mind. That's the exciting thing though here is where the gold price has gone from 1050 almost to all-time highs. We're at 1800 now, and it's a sleeper bull market. I don't know exactly why, but one thing I was thinking about is you've got the NASDAQ, which technology, it's flashy. People like to invest in it. It's been a healthy segment of the market. The NASDAQ has broken through its pre-COVID crash highs, and it's making all-time highs. Apple, Microsoft, $1.6 trillion market caps, trading at 30 times price to earning. I think Amazon's like a $1.4 trillion market cap. Well, why pay attention to gold stocks when you can keep buying the same things and they're going up at the same rate? And I think a lot of that is playing into people's lack of focus on a very, very healthy and exciting segment of the market.
Yeah, and I'd have to agree on that. the cannabis stocks. I was just looking at it earlier today, in fact, and some cannabis companies were given bailout money, and people have piled in. The stock has just continued to go up, so that jives with what you're saying about cannabis. But where do you think we are right now in the bull market for gold stocks? Still in the beginning, in the middle, or dare I say the end? I know guys want to throw tomatoes at me for saying the end, but where do you think we're at right now?
For gold stocks, I hate to use this analogy because it's overused, but it's the best one to use. You're in a baseball game and there's 9 innings. We're somewhere between inning 1 and inning 2 right now. And I'm I'm very, very focused each and every day on looking at the gold stocks, particularly the small gold stocks. And while things are starting to move, we're starting to see exciting 100%, multi 100% gains. There still exists a tremendous amount of these companies that are trading at or near 52-week lows. And typically, when you see a gold bull market, which will turn into a junior gold bull market, these stocks will come off of their 52-week low. They'll reach their previous highs, and of course, they'll go to the stratosphere by the end, almost across the board, exactly like we were just talking about cannabis. Think about the top of that bubble. Every cannabis stock that tried to get financed did, and all of them were trading in the stratosphere. So we're so far away from that that I would have to say we're in the early innings of the game when it comes to gold.
We hear the word peak gold quite a bit. A few of our past guests have used that word peak gold. How true is it that explorers are finding smaller gold deposits than before?
It's definitely true. It's definitely true. If you think about it from a practical standpoint, over the last couple hundred years, when humanity is really focused on exploring for and finding gold deposits, the technology that was had at the time was go look at the surface, scratch the surface, and if you find something obvious, there's your deposit. Well, those are all gone for the most part. I'll caveat that with our discovery at Newfound Gold is only at a depth of 96 meters. And while it was covered with a little bit of till, it probably could have been found earlier. So we got very lucky there. But explorers are having to go deeper, and they're having to go to places that are further out than they had to before. The only caveat that I'll make to that, though, is over the past 7 or 8 years, because the price of gold has been depressed, the amount of money that's now starting to flow into exploration simply was not there. And so aside from it being harder to find gold deposits, there was not very much money that was being applied to even trying to find these. And it's a simple supply-demand situation that if the gold price goes to 2,000 and 2,500 and 3,000, the prize of finding a deposit becomes greater and greater. And hence, investors will be willing to throw more and more and more money at the prospect of finding one. And that, your question was great because it dovetails into why people speculate in gold stocks when the price of gold goes up.
Collin, let me ask you, are you aware of how gold mining operations across the industry were affected by the bug? And I mean, some were ordered to close. Is the mining industry back to full strength now?
I definitely saw some disruptions. I think you guys probably witnessed the brunt of the disruptions in that there was a shortage of the physical metal because people were rushing to buy this in a time of fear. And there was only so much minted sitting at the places that sell them. Many of the mines around the world did have to temporarily shut down. The gold stocks themselves were hit very, very hard. But if you look at a long-term chart now, so look at a 5-year chart, the COVID crash, if we'll call it that, barely even registers on the charts. The same can be said, of course, for the NASDAQ and a lot of other assets that seem to have recovered faster than we could have imagined. But now, fast forward a couple months, we are in higher gold prices, of course, and these mines are for the most part back online, making more money than they were before. I think the most important takeaway from the COVID situation is what it caused the governments to do and what it means for gold moving forward. And it's solidified a bull market that was already in action. I do not believe that this gold bull market can be stopped because of that COVID crash.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that as well. I mean, I think we're seeing higher lows, continuous higher lows that keep coming in. I mean, we see gold, silver both moving up. They take a hit, go down, but the lows are consistently higher, and they don't stay down for such a long period of time anymore. They tend to bounce back pretty quick. Um, we spoke with Chris Vermeulen recently from Technical Traders, and he mentioned that usually in a bull market, gold miners move first, and then gold, and then silver. However, the order is kind of different in the current gold bull market, where gold has moved first, and then gold miners kind of just lagging just a bit, and then silver is lagging still. It is making some moves though. But do you agree with his assessment? And if so, why has the current bull market sort of bucked the trend for gold miners where they have lagged in the gains in gold?
Yeah, no, Chris has been a guest on our program, Palisade Radio, several times. He has some great insights, and this is like the sun rising and the sun setting every day. This is how bull markets in resources work. You'll have the price of gold move first, and then subsequent to that, major will move usually pretty quickly because major gold miners are producing gold. They typically have a fixed cost of production, and if the gold price goes up, their profit is going to increase, and hence their share price goes up. But then you have the smaller gold companies, and they take a little longer. And silver traditionally seems to lag, and we're seeing that this time. You guys being called silver bullion, focus on silver. I know you show the gold to silver ratio on the front of your website. It got so out of whack that it became like an obvious purchase. Why would at that time? Because silver is going to revert to some type of a historical mean, which means it's got to rise percentage-wise more than the price of gold.
We touched on this a bit, but there seems to be so much talk about the disconnect between the performance of the stock market and where right now, compared to the slump that's going on in the real economy, it's without doubt supported only by central banks and money printing that is unsustainable. Would a crash in the stock market be a catalyst to send gold prices higher?
I think so. I think we're even in a more interesting situation than that as a gold or silver investor. And what I meant by the COVID crash has made this gold bull market unstoppable is imagine both scenarios. Right now we're having the NASDAQ and the Dow and all these major stock indices are moving up, which doesn't make any logical sense. The economy is certainly not in a strong place. So the fact the stock markets are going up seems a little bit strange to most people, including myself. But gold prices are going as well, and gold stocks are outperforming the overall economy. So in one way, if this continues and the money that's being printed is fueling this, it's good for us. But imagine if the stock market even begins to show signs of weakness. We already know what the Fed's playbook is. It's been shown to us in its full entirety just a couple months ago during COVID. As soon as the market starts to come down, they somehow printed $5 trillion in a matter of a month. And that's exactly what's going to happen again. So I think either scenario is very good as a gold investor.
Is there any concern about, let's say, this so-called second wave comes around? Planes don't fly anymore. Ships don't really travel too much anymore. And then we see mines having to be shut down. Is this a concern? And if it is, how do you plan for this type of event?
Yeah, no, it's certainly possible. I personally do not, and Palisades, the company that I run, we're not invested in the gold production segment of the market. We're more so invested in development stage assets and exploration stage assets. And what that means is, during a time of shutdowns, we might not be able to explore further, but you're not at quite the same level of risk as an operating gold mine would have with having to go on care and maintenance and all the expense that is associated with that. With that being said, I think there quite possibly could be a second wave of shutdowns. And I think that the first wave has probably prepared a lot of businesses and gold mines for that potential outcome. And, by implementing things like social, 14-day quarantines when you're coming into a site, they might be a little bit better equipped to deal with it this time around.
For our viewers who are new to mining stocks and want to start investing in this sector, what should they look for when deciding which company's stock to buy?
So if you're investing in an actual mining stock like a Barrick or a Newmont or a company that has a mine and they're producing, you can pretty much follow traditional investment metrics. You might be looking for what's their cost of production, how much life of mine do they have left, do we like the management, do we like the jurisdiction, and just try to get a handle on finding the best stock. I think in that regard, though, everything is going to continue to go up, and I think there's a lot of money that's going to come into the gold sector. In terms of the stocks that we invest in, it's a lot more art than it is science, and explaining all the variables that we apply to try to put our money in the best places could certainly use a full interview by itself. But a couple to talk about would be management, the asset that they have, the context of the market. The asset could be pretty good, but if it's really cheap, that might be a great entry point to come in. And we try to mix all those factors together to figure out where we can make money. So it's not always picking the best thing, because the best thing might already be 10 times as expensive as we want to pay. So you're trying to find where's that sweet spot where we can maximize and make as much money as possible. And this is the reason that I built Palisades Goldcorp to begin with. Palisades Goldcorp is a $200 million portfolio of junior resource equities, and we deploy all that capital by actually investing through financings, so structuring private placement financings and getting really good terms for our shareholders. And Palisades is going to be going public later this year, and when it does, people will actually be able to just buy Palisades, and instead of having to try to figure all these hard things out themselves, they can simply own Palisades and get the same exact kind of returns that we're trying to get.
What does it mean by Palisades Goldcorp being a resource merchant bank? Is it similar to, let's say, commercial banks, but there's more of a focus in the resource space?
Yeah, another term for it would be just a resource investment company. The term merchant bank is thrown around quite often in the resource circles. What it means, though, more specifically, is we have positions, large positions like Newfound Gold that I discussed, where the directors and management of Palisades, the merchant bank, might also take a position or a large shareholding in specific companies and help to run them. So we're not operating as a bank in the sense of taking people's money and holding it or lending it out. The term merchant bank simply means that we're taking a very active role in some of the companies that we're a part of.
How different are the exit strategies when it comes to buying majors, mid-tiers, and juniors?
Yeah, it can be different. The important consideration is when you're buying a major mining company, unless you're a huge fund and you want to own more than 10% of one of these billion-dollar companies, you pretty much can buy it when you think it's cheap and try to sell it when you think it's high. When you get into the junior space, though, and say you own, like we do, 35-40% of Newfound Gold, you're looking for a different exit strategy. You can't just go on the market and start selling shares, because people might say, why is Palisades selling shares? Is something wrong? You have to report it. So you're going to be looking for a change of control. And a change of control is, you're trying to get the entire company acquired at a premium to where the stock is trading. And there's a lot, as your question's getting at, there's a lot of intricacies on how to create a change of control and what the goal is. Most of the positions that we try to take below a 10% position so that we don't have to worry about trying to get a change of control. We're simply trying to buy things cheap and sell them high.
Okay, that's what Mom always said, right? Buy low, sell high. So
Exactly.
Mom knows best there. Collin, what would be a good holding period in the current environment where investors can benefit from the potential outsized gains from gold miners?
I grapple with this every day because I'm trying to figure out how, when bull markets come, they say don't waste them and take full advantage, and you want them to last as long as possible because that's when the money is made. I truly believe that we have somewhere between a 3 and a 6 year window ahead to capitalize on this gold move, and it could very possibly go on quite a bit longer than that. But it's fairly hard to say. Some of the things that I've looked at to come up with that are bear markets are typically more vicious and faster. So a preceding bear market, the crash, is usually a shorter time frame than the bull market that emerges from it. It just so happens that we've emerged from the worst bear market in gold mining stocks, and that took place from 2010 to 2015. And for the juniors, it actually lasted all the way until 2019. So I would struggle to see this bull market not giving us a good amount of time to make money off of it.
Which are the mining jurisdictions that you consider to be more or less safe with risks that are more or less mitigated?
So there's actually a group called the Fraser Institute that comes up with a ranking system for mining, and it puts countries in a ranking from 1 all the way to 180 or however many there are. And they look at most of the obvious things, like, is there a civil war, or has this particular country nationalized assets before? That would put it pretty low on the poll. And then they might look at other things like, is the government friendly? Are the people friendly to mining? How does permitting work? The countries that stick out in this day that are very friendly are Canada, the United States, Australia. Those are the big obvious ones. Quite a few countries in South America are quite friendly to mining as well. On the flip side of that, Europe, for political reasons and population reasons, typically not very friendly. Africa, just due to continuing unrest, also has several countries that are not very friendly, just to give you an idea.
Silver miners, are they also on your radar, or do you focus only on gold?
We've been very, very focused on silver miners starting a couple months ago. In fact, there's 2 particular companies, Impact Silver and Arcana Silver, that we've financed. We financed Arcana Silver 3 times since the beginning of the year for a bit over $5 million in total. And the reason that we like silver miners is, first of all, there are not very many of them. Gold deposits are often found, as gold deposits. Silver deposits are usually found along with lead and zinc. And it's hard to find a deposit that's primary silver, and hence there aren't very many companies out there called silver companies. At the same time, you have a lot of investors that like silver. They like the investment prospects of silver. And when silver starts to move, you have a lot of investors that rush to buy silver stocks. So not only, as we discussed before, do we think that silver is going to perform better than gold on a percentage basis, there's just not that many of them. And if you can get a good one, they typically perform really well.
How are gold and silver mining equities at this moment, and how bright are their future?
They have started to move, Patrick, but they are just getting going. And the best way to explain this is there's very few healthy segments of the market out there. And the gold miners are now becoming so profitable that they're beginning to increase their dividends. And all that money floating around there in the world, all the institutions and pension funds and governments that have very little interest in owning gold mining stocks right now, are going to see that yield, and they're going to start chasing it. And at the same time, the gold prices are going to continue to go up, and they're going to go up. And I think we're entering an absolutely historic bull market in gold stocks. So it's early days.
Collin, before we wrap up, can you share with us more about Palisades Goldcorp and how soon before your team takes it public?
The plan right now is to take Palisades public in the November time frame. For investors who want to find out more, we have a really nice website. It's palisades.ca. That is plural, so PALISADES.ca. And if you're interested, we have an email newsletter you can sign up for where we put out press releases of companies that we're invested in, as well as articles and write-ups that I try to do on a weekly basis.
Okay, and what's your approach when it comes to protecting the interests of your investors?
Yeah, I'm the single largest shareholder. I own about 30% of Palisades, and I have over 80% of my net worth tied up in this company. So I truly treat it like I would want any shareholder would want it treated, which is we're trying to minimize dilution and maximize returns. I think we have a fantastic spot here in the market to really shine and make some incredible returns for people.
Okay. Collin Kettell, is there anything else you would like our viewers to know?
No, just buy gold and silver and store it at the safe house. That's what I do.
Okay. Collin Kettell, we thank you for your time and coming on the show once again. We appreciate what you're doing, and good luck with your discoveries and explorations.
Thank you, Patrick.
That was Collin Kettell, founder and executive chairman of Palisades Goldcorp. For more of his insights on the mining industry, please visit his website, palisades.ca. If you like this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to the SBTV channel to be updated on new content. And do also check out the SBTV podcast on iTunes and Spotify.